Hello and welcome to Bucks Podcast. Disappointing loss tonight. We're gonna get right into it. I'm Anthony Deneau. We got Kyle McEwen, Terrell Drevick, the classic three as usual. Kyle likes to get his gaggle of giggles out of the way here,
Well, I
and
mean, it was pretty funny how you could hear in your voice, "Hello and welcome to how disappointed we are about the Bucks game." I mean, the Bucks game.
yeah, yeah,
Bucks podcast.
for sure.
So,
It was a frustrating game. It was a great first half. I loved the pace. I loved the tempo. Both teams had playoffs atmosphere. There was just a feeling about the game. It was like a game that you felt like should have been on national TV. It should have been an ABC game going head to head against March Madness Elite Eight games. And the second half was really a dud. We saw the I don't know, so many different things you could. I don't want to blame it on or make excuses. I know Bucks Twitter is not going to be as responsible as they probably should be. There were some calls that were questionable, but I think more so being a back to back in Denver, things along that line. I don't know. It was. I'm still I'm still getting it all out, and maybe this will be kind of a cathartic process. But Terrell, what was your main takeaways from the game? Really, the tale of two halves.
Really, it was a tale of two halves. Now you mentioned the back-to-backs, so I got a little nugget for you here. The Bucks, they were actually going into tonight. They were 9-1 on the season in back-to-back games this season. But I tell you, with the altitude of going to Utah and then going to Denver the very next night, I don't know if they had tired legs in the second half. We were discussing before the podcast tonight. What was the turning point in the third quarter? Why did the wheels fall off? And I don't know if we have a really distinctive answer for that yet. But let's get into the first half, shall we? So what I really liked was how the Bucks came out. I think the big theme in the first quarter was quality shots. They opened the game 7 of 9 from the floor. So and I mean it helps your team shooting percentage when Giannis is throwing down dunks and yeah. So I also liked defensively how Drew Holiday, he had an early steal. Giannis had an early steal. And then Brooke Lopez, he had a monster block just to set the tone, saying that the Bucks are here. We're here to play defense tonight. This is going to be a battle. And honestly, I thought this was the most physical game that the Bucks played all season.
In the first half.
True. Was there a second
Okay.
half?
It
I
wasn't fun
started
to
watching.
watch.
Yeah, I started watching The Bachelor. No, I'm just kidding. Kyle, what was some of your kind of main feelings, and um, what would you kind of hang your hat on if you're the Bucks here?
Oh, I think I would hang my head on the fact that it was a back-to-back game, and regardless of how well we've played in those situations so far this season, this was against a championship contending team. Although I don't like, I don't look at the Nuggets and think that they should be able to match up with the Bucks depth. But they did tonight, especially in the second half. In the first half, it was just a really good contest. Tough fights from both teams, emotional reactions from the players, almost to an annoying point in some respects with how much they were complaining to the refs early in the game. And it just kind of made you feel like, I mean, there definitely became a point in the second half where things just got so like consternation on the court. Almost you could feel the frustration from the players extending to the refs and back them. It made the second half slow down and be a mucky situation where it just wasn't fun to watch if you're a Bucks fan. Obviously, the Nuggets fans probably loved watching them just put it down on the Bucks. I wouldn't get too down on this the idea that like the Bucks would fall to the Nuggets in the playoffs just because of this one game or anything like that. But it the second half really did put kind of a thought in your mind that maybe the Bucks aren't as invincible as we would like to think their roster should make them.
Yeah, sometimes I think a loss can be good for a team like that. They had won 16 straight. They had the loss to the Sixers. They've won a ton since then. Like really, since the end of January, this team has been nearly invincible. They had, at least in games that Giannis plays, they had won 13 or 14 straight on the road. So there's a lot of tough things about it, but I think this can be helpful for the Bucks. It's good to have those playoff atmosphere type games. It's good to get an idea of why they're fighting for that number one seed in the East and the number one seed overall. Because if you do happen to make it to the finals, which I think the Bucks should, and a healthy Bucks squad should actually be there, I don't necessarily have the Nuggets coming out of the West. I would maybe pick them fourth ish maybe out of the West right now, even though they're the number one team in the West. But if you have to go to Denver 3 or 4 times in the playoffs and in the finals, that can be a tough deal. So you never know if you might match up with this team again. In the playoffs, you don't see back to backs. That's just not a situation that would be happening in the playoffs. I think if it was the playoffs, we would have seen Jay Crowder and really the full complement of players. Joe Ingles would have played in the second half more. Brook Lopez played just a little bit in the third, but not at all in the fourth. The Bucks really went small in the fourth. So a lot of these things we just wouldn't see in a playoff series. So I think in a 7-game series, I still trust them, but I do think a little bit higher of the Nuggets after this game, that if they were to happen to meet in the finals, I think it's a 6 or 7-game series.
Yeah, I think we figured out the Nuggets though after tonight. I mean, the Nuggets, they're not a sexy offense. They will show their cards. They're not going to be a fast-breaking team. They rely on interior scoring, and really, they're a two-man team. It's Jamal Murray and it's Jokic, and it's going to be isolation. That's it. And this team is very comparable to a team out in the East, being Philadelphia, with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. So I think that's like a preview. If the Bucks were to go far in the playoffs, play the 76ers, and then play the Nuggets for the championship, I think you get a preview of two-man team versus another two-man team. What I saw tonight from the Nuggets though was their perimeter defense was over aggressive. It seems like it's really easy to get to the paint against the Nuggets, and the Nuggets, their interior men don't step up because you just throw the lob right over the top of them. So I do think if you exploit those weaknesses from the Nuggets, I think they're easily beatable. But then again, a simple offense that's working and you triple down on it, it's working for a reason, right?
Well, I mean, the three guys that they have that are their main offensive players, Jokic, Murray, and then Porter Jr., they're all tough shot makers too. So they're the kind of guys that are going to step up in the playoffs and hit those mid-range, tightly contested shots, hit those three-point shots that are tightly contested. And in some respects, I didn't feel like the Bucks respected Jamal Murray enough tonight. You need to treat him like a Steph Curry kind of player when he's out on the perimeter. And just because he is shifty and he'll take a shot from the dumbest position, throw his body into you too at times. And there was one call that Jamal Murray didn't get when he was throwing his body into a Bucks player, and I was thankful for that the refs made a reasonable call. But there were plenty of times too where it just felt like the Bucks were letting Jamal Murray get a little bit too open, which shouldn't happen when you've got guys like Drew Holiday and Javon Carter on your roster. You need to be hounding that guy a lot more.
Yeah, I think I hate to hound on this, but there was a lineup where they went small, and you had Pat Connaughton and Grayson there in the fourth, and I felt like that was kind of sealing the deal. But Pat Connaughton was like 2 steps slow throughout the game, and yes, there was a couple times where his shot was on, but I'm really hungry for Jay Crowder to have those minutes, because that's just not happening against Jay Crowder. You know what I mean? Like, I think Jay Crowder can still hit some of those big shots, and will get pretty wide open shots on a Bucks team where he's going to be the 5th scoring option on basically on any lineup that Jay Crowder's in there for, but then also being able to switch on really anyone on a team against a team like the Nuggets.
Last playoffs, Bud broke out that Bobby Portis, Giannis, and Brook Lopez lineup. And we saw it against the Celtics last year in the playoffs.
Yep.
But then we had never seen it before that, and we really haven't seen it after that. Why hasn't that been something that we've looked at this year? If he was willing to throw that into the mix in the playoffs last year, why doesn't he mess with that big lineup? and big
So,
configurations. Why does he
yeah,
mess with that? Because that could just having that much length out on the court
sure.
can be a big disruption.
I think Terrell, I mean, I want to ask you how you feel about this, but I think last year having so Brooke had just come back from injury right before the playoffs, and then you had Serge Ibaka as your kind of emergency center. We didn't really know where he was at necessarily. Whereas this year, we've got Myers Leonard, but he's hurt and not playing at the moment. So I wonder if they did maybe have the emergency third and a half, fourth center like in Myers Leonard. If we are more likely to see that huge lineup, because I think against the Nuggets that would be a big deal. I was surprised we didn't see more Brook in the low post against Jokic, and then those times where it seemed like Giannis would get in the paint and look too much to dish out. He looked in the first half. He was dead on. I'm scoring in the paint. I'm scoring often and early. Compared to last night, where we saw against the Jazz, Giannis was looking for assists last night, and that was like very clear. And you can see the difference between the dichotomy between last night and tonight, and Giannis's approach. And in the first half, it was I'm getting to the bucket, and you could say maybe that the Nuggets did a better job with the wall from the second quarter on. But Terrell, I wanted to know what you thought about how Giannis, I guess, responded in that manner.
Yeah, I think Giannis, when he has the first quarter like he did tonight, I think the focus is going to be 100%. I'm going to take over and start scoring the basketball. It's not going to be the unselfish Giannis that we're sometimes used to seeing, especially late in the second half of the season. But yeah, I think now that you mentioned Myers Leonard, it was. I mean, if you look at Jokic, all he does is back people down. It's isolation, and then he'll do two pumps and the ball is up. I think if you body him up with two guys like Brook Lopez, who's 280 pounds, Myers Leonard, who's around 270, I think you can wear Jokic down that way. Thoughts on that, Kyle?
I mean, you're gonna throw. You've got some good pieces to throw at Jokic in Brook Lopez. I'm not gonna count on Myers Leonard to do much in the playoffs at all, really. But you just hope that the refs respect Brook Lopez enough and his defense that Jokic can't go off on you. But Jokic, man, Brook Lopez was guarding him well tonight, and Jokic is Jokic. Jokic is gonna face up, do a little bit of lean back, throw up a floater that's looks like it's a tough shot for a lot of people, but it goes in all the time for him. So it's just this is a really good team, and they, as much as they seem like they have pieces missing, they also have other guys that are probably underrated by a lot of people, like Aaron Gordon. His defense is probably. I don't think he gets regarded as like a great defender, and I love everything he does on defense pretty much most of the time. So, and Aaron Gordon didn't even he's gonna be he's a really good fit next to Jokic, that's for sure. And as much as we want to talk about how good the Bucks are, this Denver Nuggets team, again, they had a heck of a night. Shot 53% from the field as a team, 42% from 3-point as a team on the night. They had a really, really good showing. And this was on the second game of a back-to-back for us. So we'll put a lot of it on that. But I don't want to discount this team at all, really. Sorry. I'm losing myself there.
There you go. For the MVP race, we have Nikola Jokic, we have Joel Embiid, and then we have Giannis, probably going to be in third. Based on tonight's performance, and all I really need is one game. From what I saw with Jokic, I think I would give him the MVP this season. He is that team. And the whole entire regular season, he's been putting up stat line numbers. It's like, yeah, I think he should be the MVP. Now you also mentioned Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. If one of those two guys were to, say, miss some time in the playoffs, what happens to that Nuggets team? Like, are they like true contributors? Or can you still rely on the two-man, which is Murray and Jokic?
I mean, they definitely don't have the depth that the Bucks have, but I don't know. I don't really know any other team in the NBA that has the depth that the Bucks seem to have. But all five starters are really good for this Nuggets team, and they have some good or competent contributors off the bench. We even saw, I know a lot of people aren't going to be familiar with him, but Christian Braun came in off the bench and at least caused some problems
Really
was a-
like his game as it's translated to the NBA so far. He looks good out there. He really
Yeah.
does.
for a perimeter guy, he's dirty and or he's willing to get in the dirt and work hard and
Yeah.
be physical, and his energy's obvious. He gets, if he helps off of his defender a lot, and will come in and be that second guy that's pestering you, and like he's just one of those guys that's got that like a little bit of that like Andres Nocioni energy out there, where it's like that just being around him pisses people off.
I feel it. I think Bruce Brown is also just an absolute pest. Can switch out on, can even at his size can play 3 or 4 different positions defensively. He can hit big shots. He was really a big reason why, like, he's one of those glue guys that helped keep the Nets together, and I was really surprised that the Nets didn't keep him. And another reason why I like what the Nuggets have done, the KCP move, in the trade with Morris to the Wizards. Picking up Thomas Bryant, who didn't play tonight, but he might have been a healthy scratch. I'm not exactly sure what that was.
No,
I
he
liked
did
Bones
play.
Highland, and they got rid of him. Oh, Thomas Bryant didn't play? Okay.
He came in at the end.
Oh, okay. All right. So kind of the Marjan garbage time, the nasty time.
So the thing about Bruce Brown hitting those 2 threes tonight that really helped, they were timely. The Nuggets, I was listening to the Nuggets broadcast, which, by the way, those guys are homers.
Right? I had the
Ridiculous
same
homers.
cast going. Oh my
Okay,
god.
good. Yeah, those guys are just brutal homers. They're always calling for fouls. Like, oh, whatever. We'll stop there. But for Bruce Brown, coming into this game in March, he was 3 for 20 from 3. And then he comes in and
God.
he hits 2 of 3.
Yeah.
So,
Plus the and one that was kind of a questionable, but whatever.
yeah.
I like that you say that about the homers because when it's Lisa Byington and Steve Novak, I don't always love the broadcast team for the Bucks. But Lisa is, she's a national broadcast play-by-play, and so she is pretty good about calling it down the middle, but kind of erring towards the Bucks a little bit. And Steve Novak, a Wisconsin guy, played college basketball in Milwaukee at Marquette, was on the Bucks for a season with Giannis in one of his early seasons. Giannis's early seasons, and he's fairly even too. Like he's just not a total homer like you would expect. So I will say that I give the Bucks staff credit for that, even though Marcus Johnson is my guy.
Marcus Johnson is everybody's guy. He's just a nice dude.
I'm so shocked that he isn't a national guy at this point. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of flexibility, but I'm surprised that he's not a TNT color analyst or
Right.
you know what I
Or
mean,
maybe
like
a-
the ABCB squad, whatever.
It's probably got a lot to do with when he pulled out his gun at that pickup game.
Kyle is referencing White Men Can't Jump. For those of you who are not sure. Yes.
It's a time thing though. It's like nobody has the time to do national broadcasting, and especially when I think Marcus. How old is his son? Is he still at UCLA? I think he wants.
He's got a few kids. But
Yeah, I think he wants to watch his kids play basketball. So, but yeah, Marcus, I'm pretty sure he still has that apartment in River Hills, and he should be doing some of the games for the playoffs. Is that right? Is that right?
I'm pretty sure his home is like out in LA or something. Like his normal home.
His primary is, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen pictures of him on Twitter during the winter where I'm like, man, it's a little bit too warm there, man. I was living in Wisconsin at the time.
Yeah, on his birthday, every year he'll throw on the old Marcus number 8 and try and dunk again.
Yeah. That's
He
the
made
one I
it.
saw.
It was. He's like what? He's almost 70, and he's still got his dunk on. I mean, it's not like he's a 7-footer. You know what I mean? Like he's what 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, no, he was like 6'7", I think.
All right.
Might be 6'6", but at least NBA 2K I think had him at 6'7".
There
Back
you
when I
go.
was putting him on all my old school teams.
That's right.
But all right, a fun moment from the game was, or two fun
We need
moments
it.
from the game. There was a take along the baseline from Aaron Gordon into Giannis, and he kind of got Giannis backed up, and it looked like he was going to get a layup on Giannis, and Brook Lopez comes out of nowhere and just destroys it. It was awesome because I was like, no, like how's he going to get the best of Giannis? You're watching that matchup happen, and you're thinking Giannis is going to destroy Aaron Gordon. He gets the room, about to lay it up. And Brook Lopez, everybody talks about him like he's this like lumbering dude. And then, but like if you actually watch him, sometimes he makes these amazing athletic blocks and you're just like, yeah, big man, go get it. So there was that one. Mm-hmm. And then there was the really fun Jeff Green moment where he was out by the free throw line, decided to dribble in. Giannis was down there not expecting Jeff Green at 36 years old to come in like he's in the dunk competition and just got up higher than you would ever believe and just tried to yam. And I know Jeff Green is still a good jumper at 36, but when you see this and then the announcers remind you of his age, you're just kind of sitting there going like, did he just blow out his knees? Because that was amazing. And
he was down for a while afterwards. Like, it was an incredible dunk, and it was in Giannis's face. I mean, Giannis did not see this one coming. He went up just to like, he defended it like it was going to be like a little push shot. And just threw it down right in his face. And Jeff Green was down for maybe a couple minutes afterwards, but didn't come out of the game. But he definitely tweaked his ankle or something. But he's got a great history against Giannis. He's played very well against Giannis, and his time with the Nets, and he's been all over the league. But Jeff Green has given Giannis troubles at times. So I give him a lot of respect for that.
Hey, I got one thing to talk about here, and that
Get
is
in there.
That's the Bobby Portis technical. But right before that, timeout. But yeah, the Bobby Portis technical, and then also they called the take foul. Is that what I heard?
That was kind of a huge turnaround in the game. The take foul made no sense because it was in the backcourt with everyone ahead. So, and it wasn't like Jokic was in the middle of passing, and I know he's one of those guys, and Middleton is too, that can make a kind of full court up ahead pass to, kind of a streaking open layup on a breakaway or like an unsuspected breakaway. I didn't think that was the case at all. So for them to call the take foul on that was pretty silly to me. And that was a big turnaround because not only did they get the 2 free throws, so one from the take foul, then you had the one from the technical, then the Nuggets hit a 3 on that possession when they got the ball back. So that was actually a 5-point possession that really started in the backcourt with this kind of nonsense. That was a big turnaround that kind of like, I wouldn't say that was the deciding factor, but that really pushed it enough to the point where we didn't really see the Bucks really have any juice after that.
Right. And also if you make 9 threes on the night and your offense is supposed to hit about 15, 16 threes a night, and you only put up 19 points in the third and 21 in the fourth, how many games are you really going to win? So that's all I have.
To anybody that, Anthony, you said there was a streaking layup, and to anyone who doesn't know what a streaking layup is, it's when a player loses all their clothes on the way to the rim.
Oh, like an old school.
I'm known for this. I'm actually known for this. Yeah, we're going streaking through the quad. Well, good news for the Bucks. They play the Pistons in their next game, which hopefully they can kind of get it back together. Kyle, you're our resident Pistons insider, coming to us from Michigan. Anything we should look forward to for the Bucks? Hopefully, kind of brushing this one off their shoulders and into a game against the Pistons, I think on Tuesday night.
So the Bucks have the Pistons on or you said Tuesday? I thought it was maybe Wednesday, but yeah, Tuesday. And then they have another back-to-back coming up. Should they just rest all their guys against the Pistons? Or at least like several of their core guys?
Because I think maybe you see what they did last night, and where you play your guys up until a certain point, and then hopefully you don't have to play them much in the second half. But it is a back-to-back again, with Detroit and then Indiana. Or no.
Yeah, that's Indiana and then Boston next week, right?
Right. Yep, that's the back-to-back. Right.
Which Boston's the game that matters the most.
Right.
So
it's huge game.
Because there's probably playoff implications with that, isn't there? in regards to seeding and such like that, or
Yeah, so after the Bucks lost tonight, I think that brings it to 2 games. Terrell, do you have the standings up there? I want to say that makes it to 2 games. So by when the Bucks play the Celtics on Thursday night, that could be for first place in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA. But more importantly, just the Eastern Conference standings where you're looking to get home court advantage. So that's a huge deal.
You don't know off the top of your head what the Bucks versus Celtics record is this year, do you?
Oh, the head-to-head?
They lost on Christmas. They beat them the most recent time.
Yeah, there's just 2 games, I think, so far. Or, wait.
So that game against Indiana, are the Bucks going to have to look out for that new player, Jordan Nora? I mean, he just dropped 33 points tonight. What the heck?
25 in the first half. Man, they're letting him. He's I think he's got a lot more freedom on the Pacers roster, and he's looked really good.
I'm pretty sure he had 25 in the first quarter, brother.
Oh my god. I didn't
might
know
be
that.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Uh,
I thought there was something crazy like that going on earlier. I was like, Laura, get out of here. Okay,
yeah,
it
Bucks
was at
lost.
halftime. Yeah, my bad.
So Boston beat the
No.
Bucks on Christmas Day, and then
And Morris
the
set the
Bucks-
regular season franchise record for most points in a quarter. 25 points in the second quarter tonight. He could
Oh my-
score 25
oh.
points in the second. He's Wilt Chamberlain.
Holy cow! Oh, that's awesome.
Could be a hot take.
Oh goodness. That last time the Bucks played Boston was February 14th, friend of the show Billy's birthday. And that was the overtime game. It was a Tuesday night. So they played them on Christmas, then on Valentine's Day, they're 1-1, Bucks versus Celtics, and then coming up this Thursday, which is going to be a national TV TNT game. That's going to be the rubber match and going to be huge for playoff seeding. So we'll see how that kind of breaks out. But yeah, you got Detroit on Monday, at the Pacers on Wednesday, Jordan Nwora revenge game, who the Bucks actually lost to last Thursday. So we'll see how that goes. And then you've got Boston on Thursday. Then the next game is Philadelphia on Sunday. So huge week. Really, this next 8 days is absolutely huge for playoff seeding. Very interested to see how this goes. They're all Eastern Conference teams that they play. The rest of the way of all their games, they have the second to last game is against Memphis, but everything else is within the conference. So
The Pacers are kind of mailing it in right now. They're only like a couple games out of the play-in, and they're like sending Buddy Hield to the bench after having him start all year, and it's weird. I mean, they should have been more pointedly developing Ben Mathurin over Buddy Hield all year, but they weren't
Sure.
doing that necessarily. And now they decide to do that, even though they're still within reach of a play-in spot. It's like you understand what they're doing, but there's so few times where, like, if you know you're a tanking team, you know you're a tanking team. But when you've got enough veterans on the team that they should want to be in the playoffs. I mean, everybody wants to be in the playoffs. And then to have your coach like making decisions, do you get what I'm saying here? Like it's
Yeah.
a weird situation with this Pacers team.
It
Where it's
is.
like they're deciding to tank at a time when you're not tanking, dude.
yeah, and being where I'm at in just outside of Portland, Oregon, the Blazers are in a similar situation where they're a couple games out of the play-in, but they're probably going to sit Lillard the rest of the season. But the thing with the Pacers is interesting to me because in some ways you want your team to get some playoff experience while they're so young. So that to me is a big deal. Like Tyrese Halliburton is in his 3rd year. Like I think with some of the pieces you have, I think it'd almost be like, yeah, I get it. You want the lottery pick. It's not going to be a high lottery pick anyway. Is there really that big of a difference between drafting 12th, 13th, or 18th? Because to me, that playoff experience, if you know you have a good young core, like like the Thunder, like you want them to get in the playoffs. You actually want to see how they roll together a little bit. I think that getting that experience is such a bigger deal than maybe getting a shot at a higher lottery pick, which doesn't, is not a guaranteed to turn off. Whereas, playoff experience for a younger team is a big deal. So I've always thought that was interesting to me. It's not quite like the Bucks used to be, Terrell, in the Herb Cole era, where it was fight like hell for the 7 or 8 seed, where you're going to get demolished. But that those teams didn't really have great young cores that you wanted to develop and get playoff experience. You just saw them get crushed by the Heat, and then saw 8 new players the next season.
Yeah, that Pacers situation, or not Pacers, the Blazers situation is kind of crappy. Like, if you're a Blazers fan, because you're sitting there and you're looking at, we're not mathematically eliminated yet. What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, why are we mailing in the season when you've got Damian Lillard on your team? You might win 8 of your next 9 games, but you're just gonna stop. Like, it just makes it might be the right move to say, hey, you know what? We need to get Shaedon Sharpe some more minutes. But you know what you could have done? You could have brought Anthony Simons off the bench most of the season as your 6th man, which is what he should be probably when you have Damian Lillard on your team.
Because you can alternate better with them.
Sharpe,
yeah.
Or when you had Josh Hart playing at small forward, I hate teams that play Josh Hart at small forward. He's like 6'3", 6'4". Like, dude's not. Maybe he's 6'5", but he's just not a big enough dude to be matching up with most small forwards.
Sure.
I'm not a Josh Hart fan.
I've known this for years. You're not big on him.
And it's just it's failure from the top. It's failure from the top to the point that and it's also failure from the NBA in some respects, that they have such a lack of respect for the fans with how much they rest their players.
Kyle, you want to
kick the NBA in the nuts?
I want to know how you feel about back-to-backs and whether or not they should exist, and or lessening the amount of games, and then also the play-in tournament. This is your chance to really get into it if you want to.
If you have to lower the number of games for the season so that you don't rest players, because it's not just about, oh man, they missed a game for fantasy or whatever. No, dude, I'm less likely to want to go watch a game at the arena right now because I don't know if my guys are going to play.
Right.
And not because they legitimately got injured, but because you decided tonight that they need a rest.
Yep.
They all the ice baths. Richard Jefferson talked about this recently, about how these new players have all the best amenities to keep them healthy, to keep them on the court, and yet they're missing more games than ever before for negligible injuries or little, niggling things that just don't, like, from when you're considering how much they're getting paid, the fact that it's supposed to be a sport of passion and all this, it's hard to wrap your head around it as a passionate, committed fan to understand how these players are. Now, the players, a lot of times, what Richard Jefferson was making a little bit of an excuse for was the fact that these are young guys who are getting told what to do, and they just do what they're told. And they've been doing that their whole life, because a lot of them are like pampered travel kids or whatever they call it.
Yeah, and I wanted to
AAU
ask
stuff,
Terrell about that in the AAU situation, because you have, they're playing 4 to 6 games a day on these weekend tournaments that can go like, so you play for your team for a few months, but then you're doing those AAU tournaments maybe the whole rest of the year basically.
Yeah, I'm going to continue on this rant. Thank God Kyle brought it up. Here we go. 3 things. Are you ready for this? Number 1, if you have a weekend game, your star players play that weekend game. That's when the families, the kids, the marquee games that are at like 5 o'clock on a random Sunday, that's when you can go and watch your team. You're not going to watch them on a weekday.
Sure.
You got things to do. So your star players, they have to play on the weekend.
Yep.
Number 2, let's say the best team in the league, this is a hot take. Let's say the best team in the league sets the season. Okay, let me explain this. So let's say the target number is 55 wins. The best team in the league that reaches 55 wins, the season ends at that point. There's no more like 82 games. That's just an example. Like if you reach 55 games, the season ends, and that's the standings. That way, teams are always trying to play and always trying to win, instead of saying, "Oh no,
Oh my.
we're calling
Okay,
our
so like a first,
we're calling
so
our
like a first to 60 kind of thing. Like whoever wins
Right.
60 first, that's when the season. Oh wow.
and that's that way you say, "Oh my gosh, we're in the 10 spot or we're in the 11 spot, but now we can't make the play-in game because of the Nuggets who went out and they got the first 60 wins of the season." So, and number 3, I can't think of number 3 right now. I've had too many glasses of Tempranillo tonight. So.
Well, and to go back to your first point, to me, if you're on national TV, also your players got to play. So if that's the Thursday night game, the Friday, and your weekends, like you said, weekend games, stars got to play. National TV games too, your stars have to play.
This might not make sense at first when you hear it, but there should be some kind. You have to figure out some kind of logical thing to get the players to actually play in more games, because they're just not playing enough. Like there's too many games where it's just a blowout, and there's way too many blowouts in the NBA too. Like that's something that I don't know how you fix that. Is that just a part of the scheduling as well, where you got a team that's coming in on a back-to-back, getting their butt kicked all the time in the second half? Or is it something that you can scheme against? Is there a way to punish teams who are resting their players so that you say, like, if you rest, essentially, if you sit out like multiple guys or whatever, if it's tough though, because how do you discern what's a real injury and what's not, for from the team? So that's the tough part. And when is a legitimate time to rest a guy? Maybe if it's considered an injury, okay, cool, you're out, whatever. But if it's considered a rest game, that player has to rest 2 games. That way the team has to know, like, if you're resting them here, you're resting them for 2 games. So you're putting yourself in a deeper hole or something like that. Like,
No,
and it
that's
also
interesting.
gives the ticket buyers a heads up that next game this guy's not playing. So either sell your tickets or
Well, there should
or
be
don't
some sort
buy
of refund situation too. Like,
There should be
you bought tickets to go see Giannis, and he's not playing, and it's because of basic rest or the Bucks love the knee soreness. I'm not saying it's not legit, but that's like they kind of overuse that one. Then I'm sorry, then they should get extremely discounted tickets, or the chance at the same tickets for another game. Like there's got to be different tiered options or something like that when it comes to that.
Somebody should be doing, and there might be something out there. Somebody should be launching like a Fans Against the NBA, like a multi-case lawsuit that essentially says,
Oh, I love it. Okay.
hey, no, because like Damian Lillard sitting out the last 9 games of the season when you bought tickets for 82 games, and they're saying
you're
he's healthy,
technically
we're just
in it?
not playing him.
It should be
And you're
prorated.
you're
Correct.
technically still in contention for a playoff spot.
Right.
So
while
you
they're
sold
doing
me
it.
a false product, or
Right.
yeah, essentially, yeah.
I got my number 3 for the rant. I just thought of it right now. But this only happened one time for the Bucks this season. Thank God. But if you have a nationally televised game, and let's say it's an East Coast team that plays at 7:00, which means the next game is going to be Milwaukee versus whoever, and 7:00, 9:00 is going to be the start time. You're starting the game at 9:00 Central Time in Milwaukee. Those kids are in bed at 8 p.m. The NBA is, I get it. The NBA is for the players. It's for the fans. It's for the kids. It's like that's who their target market is. And like, you want to start a game at 9:00 just to get it in for money, for TV revenue.
When an East Coast team goes to the West Coast, I mean that's a team that plays at the Knicks or whoever play at 6:30 or 7:00. When they go to the West Coast, that's them starting at 10 or 10:30.
I don't know. Maybe they make a crap ton of money from like China and stuff like that, like through the viewership over there, just from the sheer amount of people and whatnot. So maybe that influences some of those game time decisions as well.
At that point, as an East Coast family, you just pack up the whole family and move to Hawaii so you can catch all the games.
There you go.
There you go.
One last thing before we have maybe just a little bit of fun. So Terrell, you said the Bucks were 9-1 on the second end of back-to-backs, meaning the Bucks have played 10 back-to-backs, now 11, and then I think they have 12 next week. Or, yeah, I think you have 12, maybe 13 in total for the season. You drop the games from 82 to 70, and then boom, you don't have back-to-backs. You keep the season as long as it is in terms of start day and end day, and then you have no back-to-backs and way less need for... And dude, look at us. We're spending our Saturday nights talking about basketball for fun, right? Like, if we're the ones who can say, and we're the ones, buying tickets and then, having a podcast about the NBA and about our favorite teams and just talking about it just because we love it so much, and we're willing to sacrifice how much we can watch it, then I think that says a lot. That says a lot, that the back-to-backs, and there's a reason why we don't do it in the playoffs, right? To me, that's the quick fix, is go down to 70 games. Because really, nobody at the end of a season is like, oh, he scored 2,500 points in it. Like, we don't care about that the way we do in baseball and other seasons and how many yards. It's about averages. So for it to go down to 70 games and get rid of the whole knee soreness sitting on back-to-backs and eliminating back-to-backs, to me, that's the real quick fix to get rid of that. And I think it's that easy.
Plus, doesn't that protect the value of the players as well? Because isn't there like statistics that say that most bad injuries happen on the second night of back-to-backs on the road? Stupid stuff like that.
There you go. All right, Terrell, you got 30 seconds to tell us about The Bachelor.
Oh, yes. All right. I need more than 30 seconds, but here we go. Okay, so it was really spicy last week, but it was Fantasy Suites last week, which means, well, according to Zach, Sex Week. And out of the three girls that were alive, Ariel, Katie, and Gabby.
They're killing girls on The Bachelor now?
Zach is like, you know what? I'm a nice guy. I'm going to respect your boundaries, and it's off the table, except for Gabby. Oops, she worked her magic, and she is the one with the scarlet letter right now, and now there's only two girls left, and so it's gonna be Gabby, and it's gonna be Katie. I haven't looked yet. There is Reality Steve. Why don't you just look at Reality Steve? Because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm a true fan. Okay, so
no dirt sheets for Bird.
That's right. Caca. Here's what I think is gonna happen. I think Gabby is gonna get way too emotional. And then she's from Vermont, so she's going to start crying syrup instead of tears and just pull herself out of The Bachelor herself and say, you know what, Katie, you can go and have this man. You have a better connection with him. I just feel some type of way. The end.
All right, that was great. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. We'll be back next week with Bucks Podcasts. Kyle, tell everybody you love them.
I love you.